So, today we're going to dive into a really important public health story coming out of Florida. We're using official data to count down the top 10 areas with the highest concentration of HIV cases. And what this data shows us, well, it's a story that goes way beyond the sunshine and beaches the state is known for.
Right. When you think of Florida, your mind probably jumps to vacation spots, theme parks, that kind of thing. But what we're looking at today, using the source material for this explainer, pulls back the curtain on a completely different reality hiding in the state's public health data.
And that's a direct warning from the source itself. Okay, so before we jump in, there's something really important you need to know. This ranking is based on the concentration rate of cases, which is often relative to the population size, not just the raw total of cases. That's why you're going to see the numbers jump around in some ways you might not expect. Let's get started.
All right, let's kick things off on Florida's Atlantic coast. We're starting our countdown in a place famous for speedways and spring break, Daytona Beach, right there in Volusia County. This is our number 10 spot.
And the number here, 1,650 cases. So that's our starting point, our baseline for this journey up the list.
Okay, for number 9, we're going to head inland to Alachua County, home to the University City of Gainesville. And here's where that thing I mentioned earlier comes into play, that whole concentration metric. The number of cases actually dips down to 1,150. So this tells us it's not just about the raw number, right? It's about the prevalence of cases within that specific community, which is what puts Gainesville higher on this particular list.
All right, coming in at number 8, we're traveling up to Florida's Panhandle, to the state capital itself, Tallahassee and Leon County.
The number here is 1,350. And again, this is a perfect example of how it's that concentration rate, not just the total count, that's deciding the rankings. It places Tallahassee's situation right between our last two spots.
Okay, now let's head over to the Gulf Coast for number 7, St. Petersburg in Pinellas County. And you're going to want to pay close attention here, because this is where we see the first really big jump in the data.
Yeah, we've left the low thousands behind. We've jumped all the way up to around 3,800 cases. You can see the scale of what we're talking about is starting to shift big time.
Staying on the coast, but hopping back over to the densely populated Atlantic side, we've arrived at our number 6 spot, West Palm Beach in Palm Beach County. And boom, another big jump. We've gone from just under 4,000 to 6,000 reported cases. That's a pretty significant increase as we officially enter the top half of this list. All right, we have officially cracked the top 5. We're starting in the northeast corner of the state with Florida's largest city by area, Jacksonville, in Duval County.
And the climb continues, hitting 6,500 cases here in Jacksonville, which really solidifies its position in the top half of our list.
Now we're moving right to the bustling tourist hub in the center of the state, a city pretty much everyone knows. And number 4, we have Orlando in Orange County. Orlando's number is 7,700 cases, so another pretty big step up as we get really close to the top 3. Back on the Gulf Coast now for our number 3 spot. We're talking about the major metropolitan area of Tampa in Hillsborough County. We are really getting to the peak of this trend now. Tampa is at 8,200 cases. And look, that's a really high number, but I need you to brace yourself because the jump to number 2, it is honestly the most staggering one in this entire explanator. Our number 2 spot is just down the coast in Fort Lauderdale, Broward County. And this is the leap we have been building towards. Think about this. We go from just over 8,000 in Tampa all the way up to approximately 22,000 cases in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, that is just a massive, massive leap.
The source material even calls this out specifically. It's a number so large it just demands a double take. 22,000. Just let that sink in for a moment.
So 22,000 it's just a huge number, but it's not number 1. So you have to wonder, right, what place in Florida could possibly have a higher concentration of cases than that? And the number 1 spot, the area with the highest concentration of cases in the entire state, is just a little bit south of Fort Lauderdale. We're talking about Miami in Miami-Dade County. And the final number is an estimated 29,000 cases. 29,000. So the crucial question becomes, why? Why are the numbers so incredibly high in these specific areas, especially in South Florida?
Well, the source material points to a really complex mix of factors. You've got high population density, for one. Then there are socioeconomic disparities that can make it really hard for vulnerable groups to get health care. And on top of that, there are challenges related to stigma, which can actually prevent people from getting tested and seeking treatment. So the data doesn't just show us where the crisis is, it really forces us to ask why and to try and understand the much deeper public health challenges.